It's like they never left. The Blackhawks lose 5-1 to the Columbus Blue Jackets coming off the Four Nations face-off break. We'll break it down next on the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show. I'm Jay Zawoski with Mario Tirabassi. Sarah is here running the show as always. Katie's over there working on Bulls stuff. Hi, Katie. She's waving. She's waving at us.
She says hi.
Yeah, she's friendly. She always says hi.
The Bulls also lost
The
tonight.
Bulls lose. Hey, man, it's a perfect night in Chicago winter sports. It's what we are used to, and we're going to get into all of it. Hawks lose 5-1 to Columbus. And we're going to get into some of the Seth Jones stuff in the second half of the show. You know, if you were just to go to natural stat trick and look at the overall arc of this game, it doesn't seem so bad. Hawks actually had the shot attempt advantage, and the Fenwick advantage anyway, and it was right there in shot attempts, and everything's pretty even. High danger chances pretty even, and the final score is 5-1. 5-1. Because one team, Columbus, who's good, not great, has some players that can finish and some goaltenders that can make saves when they make saves. I mean, and a team that is not stupid. And this is where I'm at. And look, I'm not going to start naming players and saying they're dumb, but as a collective, this was a very unintelligent hockey performance by this team. They're either not first of all, you have a goal that you score that should have been challenged that wasn't. And you played it a couple times during the second intermission where Kevin Dean said probably should have challenged that. Mm-hmm. We went back and listened. Did we hear that right? Yes. So no communication between the coaching staff.
He did also say they didn't get a clear answer from the refs, but also
watch the replay that's on TV.
Might as well. What do you have to lose?
It's like you said in pregame. What's going to happen? They lose?
Right.
Yeah, that's it. And the energy level was 50%, just kind of skating through the motions. I didn't see anyone playing their asses off, playing really hard. You know, they stayed within their system and they got their shots on goal, but never were they really dangerous. It just is exactly what Sorensen was yelling at them about yesterday. A lack of urgency, a lack of intensity. And look, I know there's 27 games left. I know they're out of it. I know the playoffs aren't a hope. I know the trade deadline's coming. Just have some pride.
It's not to say these guys don't have anything to play for. Like, these young guys have roster spots and some impacts and impressions to make on this club moving into the next season. That's something to play for. There's guys on this team that want to be moved. They have something to play for. There's guys on this team that are coming up to new contracts that might be open to getting them with the Blackhawks. They have something to play for. It's not for lack of motivation. And if it is, buddies, you're in the NHL. Let's go. Yeah. I don't care that you're 31st.
You know what they have to do? They have to find their identity.
Yeah, still looking for it. Three years later.
What? It's coming. I feel like it's coming. I think tomorrow's Toronto game might be the time.
Sure.
This is your identity. And let's continue with the unintelligent hockey is you don't challenge a play that's clearly challengeable. Connor Bedard is pushed into the net. It's obvious on whatever replay you saw, it was enough to challenge. Right. And you didn't. And I understand the rule's been unclear this year. Don't care.
I mean, welcome to the NHL. There is no clear rule on goaltender interference.
Correct. Granted, but still challenge it because you're in last place. You are in the third period. You're down 3-1. You've got some momentum. You're getting some chances. Merzlikins is clearly banged up. He didn't leave the game, but clearly hurt.
Was laboring.
They either didn't know it because they weren't communicating with each other. The coaches weren't telling them.
Right.
Or they did know it and just decided to not shoot on him anyway and just skated around the zone. Whatever it was, lack of ignorance on the situation or knowing it and just refusing to shoot anyway, dumb. We're seeing a theme here in this game.
Yeah.
It's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, the situational awareness seemed to be pretty rough tonight. I will say they had a few chances stopped by Merzlikins, who did not look strong in net, but made the saves that he needed to, including one where he looked like he was going for an NBA tip-off.
That was kind of fun.
But, like, he made the saves that he needed to. I think 2 shots went off posts for the Hawks tonight. Like,
yeah, one was disallowed.
Well, and then you had, you had that
too.
The goal was disallowed. So, yeah, I mean, things didn't go their way in those aspects, but you still have to be able to create your own luck at times. And, you know, when you have a power play, when you have extended zone time and you're not attacking, especially when you're down, especially when you have a goaltender that looks hurt, like that is a moment that you have to take advantage of. And they couldn't. And as soon as that puck went the other way.
Oh, you said
on the Werenski breakaway.
I think you called it between the red and the blue line. They're scoring.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was as soon as it was a breakaway from, you know, the Hawks ozone blue line. There was no. It was going to go in. Of course. And that's. It's just how this season has gone. When something can come back and bite the Blackhawks, it will. There's the amount of timely saves has been low. The amount of times where, you know, there's an open chance and, you know, a stick breaks, that doesn't happen in favor of the Blackhawks. It happens to the Blackhawks. It happens to Connor Bedard a lot. And
unsure which.
It's just what this team is. This team is a team that cannot capitalize on breaks, cannot create their own breaks. It's just frustrating. And, you know, you look at the analytics, like you were mentioning, advantage in Corsi, advantage in Fenwick, advantage in shots and goal, scoring chances at even strength, 29-25 for Columbus, so not too far off. 8-7, Blackhawks had more high danger chances. Expected goals for at all strengths for the Blackhawks, 2.89. Mm-hmm. Expected goals against, 1.8. And if you look up here, that's a number 5.
Yeah.
That's how many they scored. No empty nets tonight. 5 goals scored by the Blue Jackets. Expected goals was 1.8. There's at least one on the board that you have to have back.
Peter Mrazek, goals saved above expected, minus 3.26.
That math checks out.
That's the game. Yeah. And by the way, you get back into it. Craig Smith scores on a power play, 4:53 into the second period.
Badger.
You've got some momentum. Then Matejchuk scores his second goal of the game, just flipping one past the weak glove of Peter Mrazek. And I know there was a slash on Ryan Donato. I know that had an impact on the play, but there was no screen. There was no traffic in front. It was a weak shot fired from right inside the blue line.
Clean shot.
And Peter Mrazek just whiffs on it.
Yep.
That can't go in. I have written here in my notes, could be game's turning point. And guess what?
Right.
It went from potentially being 2-2 to being 3-1, then 4-1, then 5-1, and they don't have the talent to come back from down, frankly, 2 goals, let alone 4 goals. There's no chance.
Yeah, no.
Because if Bedard doesn't score and you don't get a goal from your second most effective line, your fourth line, you get nothing. And look, I want to point out in this game, by the way, 2 guys I did see working their asses off were Pat Maroon and Craig Smith. And they know. Mm-hmm. Pat Maroon's won 3 Stanley Cups. Craig Smith's been in good teams his whole career until this year, basically. They're not out there quitting. They're not out there giving up on this season. And everyone wants to dump every veteran at the trade deadline. I'll hang on to those 2, if for nothing else, to just set an example for the kids you are going to call up and give a chance to, because I don't need to see Alec Martinez again. I don't need to see TJ Brody again, losing battles behind the net in a tight game and trying to stop the bleeding. It's ridiculous. It is the veterans letting this team down. Mrazek, Martinez, Brody, on and on and on. Tavo had a chance in the third where he had all the room in the world to walk in and score and just was like, I'm good here between the circles. Now let's flip it on net.
Yeah.
It's very, very frustrating. It's just...
Yeah. 5 shots on goal for Connor Bedard tonight. Led the team. Tied for the lead for the team. Tied with Craig Smith. 5 shots on goal. Individual scoring chances. 5 for Connor Bedard, 3 for Craig Smith, 3 for Pat Maroon. Individual high danger chances. 2 for Bedard, 2 for Maroon. So, I mean, Bedard came to play. He was energized by the Four Nations face-off and took that momentum into the resuming the season. There's really not much else that's jumping out. I mean, yeah, Smith and Maroon played well. Reichel had a little bit of a noticeable game. We hear you, John. Thanks.
Yeah, can you block him immediately, Sarah?
And yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. And we talked about it in the pregame. It was just like this week of practice, coming back from the break, leading up to getting everything back going, wasn't great. A little disjointed. Anders Sorensen had to bark at his team and say, hey, guys, wake up, please. Like, do you want to play or do you want to sit on the bench? And we had said, like, hopefully that was the bad hockey getting out of their system. Clearly not. It carried over into this game. And now you travel back from Columbus, and you got Toronto tomorrow. Cool. Like, 10 games in 17 days for this team coming back from the break here, and you start off with this effort. Like, you really are going to have to have a turnaround tomorrow. And it's going to be against a tough team, and you're going to be back in the home building, a Sunday night game. Like, should be a good atmosphere, but you got to give the fans something to be excited about.
Just got the our email from Hockey Stat Cards where they have the game scores for every player. Not a surprise. Zach Werenski, top-rated player in the game, 3.90 game score.
He's been.
Do you want to know how many players
good.
it takes to get to a Blackhawk on the top game scores?
9.
11.
Ooh. Wow.
It's Craig Smith. Then it's another Blue Jacket. Then it's Frank Nazar. Then it's 3 more Blue Jackets. Then it's Connor Bedard, Pat Maroon.
Wonderful.
It's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And you can live with losses when it's the young guys making mistakes. If, oh man, you know what? Learning experience for Ethan Del Mastro. Yeah. Probably shouldn't have forced that pass, or maybe could have read that a little bit better. Mm-hmm. No. It's your goalie letting you down. By the way, the same goalie who reads all the press and knows when something's written about him and has no problem calling out the media in the locker room. Make a save.
Yep.
Make a big save. Like one you're not supposed to.
Well, the one you are supposed to.
Well, that would help.
That too, yeah.
But just helps. Like once in a while, make one that's like, oh, that was nice. That was probably ticketed for the back of the net. Instead of just waving aimlessly at if you don't want to be here, it's like Sorensen was telling the players yesterday in practice. If you don't want to be here, go.
Right.
Get out. Ask for a trade. Well, whatever.
Someone has.
I just, it is so aggravating, and you as Hawks fans deserve better. Look, I'm still on board with the rebuild. I'm still optimistic about the future, but this particular season and these particular vets cannot get out of here quickly enough. I'm done. All right, more to come on the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show. We are going to spend a good chunk of this show talking about the Seth Jones situation. So make sure you stick with us. Hit that like button for us. I know they lost, but the like button does not do anything to help the Blackhawks. It helps us. So please hit that like button for us. We'll be back in a moment on the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show.
And hey, are you looking for a new vehicle? Well, why not check out our friends at Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram in Fox Lake during the President's Day sales event going on all month long. where you can shop federally approved savings on brand new vehicles. Head to Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram on Route 12 today to choose from their huge inventory of new Chryslers, Dodges, Jeeps, and Ramses vehicles. And right now, take 18% off of MSRP with a dealer discount on all new 2024 gas-powered Jeep Wrangler models. Or shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With the friendly team of brand experts, those at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram are there to help you during each step of your car shopping journey. Plus, they prioritize affordability, so you know you won't overpay on the vehicle you need, because with Ray's price promise, you can shop confidently with no add-ons, no hidden fees, nothing, ever. The price you see is the price you pay. Go check out our partner today to shop one of Chicago area's largest inventories. Find the right new vehicle for you, because you don't want the wrong new vehicle, and then drive home happy because you don't want to drive home sad. The team at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram is the only one that we recommend. Don't miss out on their President's Day sales event going on all month long for 18% off of MSRP on all 2024 gas-powered Jeep Wrangler models.
It's a thorough read.
Wow. That's the gas power. For more information, visit Ray's CDJR today on Route 12 in Fox Lake or online at rayscdjr.com. They've been serving the community since 1963.
And whatever the sport, the app to bet is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. You'll give it a chef's kiss.
Mm-hmm.
It's that good. Bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, or in-game, Circa Sports has it. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. March Madness is coming.
Yes.
Who do you like? Kansas.
We suck this year. Absolutely not.
Duke.
I hate Duke.
North Carolina.
No.
I'm out of college basketball teams.
Michigan State.
No, absolutely not.
They're great this year.
I will never root for Sparty.
Wow.
After they planted the flag in Notre Dame Stadium.
I did not know that about you, Jay.
No. Except Duncan Keith. It's the one exception.
On Wisconsin.
Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLER. Sarah, Kansas is bad. What happened to Dick?
Oh, Grady Dick?
Yeah.
He's in the
He went into the
NBA.
They drafted all of our freshmen, and every good freshman we get just gets drafted right away.
Well, that's college basketball.
Yeah, but it always happens to us. Like, we never get a team. There's no.
By the way, Sarah can say we and us because she did go to Kansas.
She did go to Kansas.
Yes, I
just
did.
as I have visited Notre Dame.
So have I.
So have I. And I chose not to go there.
You had the choice.
You
to
chose.
No, I
You
didn't.
turned
I didn't,
down
I didn't
there,
have the
yeah.
grades to go there.
I went to Notre Dame. I was in college and I went home and I told my mom, if you'd taken me here, I would have tried a lot harder in school. She's like, oh, well, you wouldn't have, but she's probably right. All right, we have any super chats? I would assume
4
not.
national championships for Kansas, by the way.
All right,
including 2022.
Nice.
Were you there in?
That was my senior year.
Oh, nice. Way to go out.
I thought so. Now we're bad.
Anyways, this isn't basketball. It's
No,
hockey. Let's have fun with
to
the
this
Blackhawks.
game. Yeah, we have a little bit of clarity here from Anders Sorensen. This from Mark Lazarus. Sorensen said he was rushed into a decision on whether to challenge the Bedard no goal. They thought it was a kicking motion at first, not goalie interference. After looking at it later, he felt they would have lost the challenge anyway. So did the refs? No, but the refs said that the player ran into the goalie. That was the announcement made at the arena.
Yeah.
So what's the lack of clarity?
Maybe they announced he ran into the goalie, and then they either prior to that or after it had said, no, we thought he kicked it. That's where your confusion could come in.
You're saying the refs could have
From
said
the refs
that?
to the bench. That could have been the confusion.
That's bad.
But you have,
of course, it was a ass night for the refs too, but
you have the ability to go back to your video team, back in the locker room. And, if you ever watch when these plays happen, one of the assistants, I think it's Derek King, has the earpiece in, and it's for that group to be like, hey, we took a look at it, challenge it, or don't challenge it. I mean, maybe at the end of things, the video group says, not worth it, we're probably going to lose. Then you live with that. But if you're basing it off of, miscommunication from the ref, like that's why you have that video team back there to help you figure it out. But you only have a certain amount of time to make that decision.
Look, if you feel rushed, you need to make. If John Tortorella felt rushed or John Cooper felt rushed, they'd be, hey, waving at arms, screaming at the referees, like, get over here, explain to me what the situation is. You said this, now you're saying this. What is it? We need to know if we should challenge it or not. It's just, I know it's an interim head coach, and I like Sorensen. I think the Hawks have played better under Sorensen, but come on. Like, it's so past. Everything is so polite. Everything is so nice. Get some balls here, man. Like, honestly, like, yell at a referee, get pissed. There were several occasions in this game where Anders Sorensen would have rightfully lost his mind on the referees. You had the no call slash that leads to the goal. You have the lack of clarity on if it's something challengeable or not, or what exactly they should be challenging. You have a linesman interfering with a defenseman at the blue line on a scoring chance, on a scoring rush.
I forgot about that.
You had an extra roughing call on Nick Foligno for what?
Right.
It's just bizarre. I don't. You've got to look, and the players sense that from you too. If the players don't see their coaches fighting for them, and it's not just Sorensen, the assistants have to do it too.
Yeah. If
the players don't see their coaches fighting for them, they're going to be like, okay, why would you not challenge that play? You don't think that right now in that bus heading to the airport, they're talking about in the back of the bus or back of the plane, like, what do we not challenge that for? What are we doing? We tie the game. It's
right,
a totally different game if that happens.
If you have an opportunity to potentially, stop the early momentum, get back to 1-1, you might as well take it. And on the broadcast, I think either Rick Ball or Troy Murray had said, Hawks PK has been better recently, going into the break and everything. Like, they've had one of the better PK units. So even if you challenge, you take the opportunity to try and get the goal allowed overturned. If you don't, you go to the penalty kill. And sure, is that ideal? No, obviously not. But you have a group that can get it done, and I don't know. I feel like it's worth the try. Is it the make or break of this game?
It could be.
Ultimately, if you look at the score, one goal doesn't make the difference. But at the time, you're right. At the time, you could have a different flow to the game. If you go and challenge it, and they say, hey, you know what, that did count. Then it's a 1-1 game. You get some life on your bench, and you're off from there. And yeah, it could make a difference. But I don't know. I feel like that early in a game, that close of a call, it's worth going for it, because there's a lot of game left beyond that point. That was what, midway through the first period?
It wasn't even that late. It was 5:58 into the game.
Yeah. So you have a ton of game left.
Yeah.
Why not try it? And with the coaching staff aspect of things, Kyle Davison has said that whether Anders Sorensen keeps the job as head coach or doesn't, he'll still be with the organization. But if you are getting a coach from outside the organization, which I feel like Sorensen would be the only one within the organization you would put in that position.
Kevin Dean, come on down. No. You're the one who hasn't gotten a chance yet.
So if it's not Sorensen, you're going outside the organization. At that point, I think you have to give that coach their pick of assistant coaches. And
100%.
I know.
And you're going to have to if you want to get a big name coach too.
Exactly.
You can't say, well, we really like our assistants. If you want to keep Sorensen, you send him back to Rockford and make him the head coach.
Right.
And I think the fact that Mark Eaton is the guy doing it for now indicates that that's
it hasn't been it hasn't been a new person from the coaching staff or a new coach. So and that's, a bigger discussion, but I think that's clear. If you go with a new person, it has to be a whole new staff.
Craig Smith, one of the veterans who showed up for this game, says, quote, "It's frustrating. It's unacceptable. It's embarrassing to a certain point. It's getting embarrassing. We have to dig deep personally before every game."
Yep.
So we're not overreacting. The veterans on this team are seeing exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah, and we've been watching this team for almost 3 years on this network, and there hasn't been much difference. It's, finding it within yourselves, digging deep, playing with pride, find your identity, all this stuff. Man, and Craig Smith, goal scorer, he's come in, he's done what he's been asked to do, what you'd expect him to do when he's been healthy on this team. If he's coming out here saying like it's frustrating, it's unacceptable, it's embarrassing again. I mean, if there's a team that wants a depth scoring veteran option, give him an opportunity to go to a contender. Because if I'm Craig Smith, I'm saying all these words. I'm like, hey, if you can get me to a more competent team, I'd be willing to go.
I'm sure. I think they all would too. But this is why I think we've all been. But I've been really bullish on keeping Ryan Donato. Like, it's the vet that shows up every single game.
Yeah.
And look, like we've had our fun at the expense of Pat Maroon. He's another one. That guy's giving you everything he's got.
Oh yeah.
And not only like he's not obligated to mentor Lucas Reichel. His legacy is sealed as one of the most impactful role players in this decade.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like he's accomplished everything he needs to accomplish. And the fact that he keeps showing up every day with his age, with his, I don't know. I see the guy working hard in practice. I see him setting an example. I don't know. I get aggravated. And that's why, again, I want to make sure, like, no more of this 1 year crap. None of it. I don't want any more of that this summer. Either go young or find veterans that are going to be here and be committed to this team.
Right.
I don't want these bridge deals and these guys who are, hey, I'm going to come here and play here. Oh, wait, you're not good. I'm going to then mope my way through the second half of the season. You knew what you were signing up for. Mm-hmm. Alec Martinez knew what he was signing up for. TJ Brody knew what he was signing up for.
Yeah.
They knew the situation.
They're not in situations like Seth Jones was when he got here and was told, hey, we're going to compete. And it's only been losing.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly understandable why guys are frustrated. And I get it. Like, it is hard to lose night after night after night. But when you look at a game like tonight, it feels like a different result was in the hands of the players. And they just, I don't know. Did you see a lot of intensity from them tonight? I just didn't. I just did not see a lot of guys. I know comparing anything to the Four Nations is impossible and stupid. And
not with this team. No.
But I'm talking about in terms of the want to. In terms of jumping over those boards and saying, we're going to do everything we can to get a win. It's not there. It hasn't been there since Luke Richardson's first year.
Oh, yeah. You go back and say, like, oh, that team had an identity. They just didn't have the players to execute
right
to a level where you were going to win even as many games as you did lose. Like, it was just not possible. But since then, arguably, the subsequent years, the rosters have been better, quote unquote. But that mentality, that push, that identity didn't translate. So I think there's going to be there has to be, from the veteran group, there has to be a lot of look in the mirror, figure out how you want to finish these 26 games, figure out if you want to be here or not. And for the young guys, it's, this is a new animal. A lot of you have come from winning cultures, winning spaces in your junior teams. This is the NHL. It's time to kind of pick up the intensity, and it's getting to end of February, March, April. Like, teams are going to be more intense. When you play teams that are good, it's no longer they're just more talented. It's these teams are gearing up for the playoffs. Columbus, Toronto.
Yeah,
these are teams that are getting ready for the playoffs now. They're revving their engines harder, so you have to be able to match that. And for this young group, like, that's going to be something that they have to be prepared for and get up for. And this veteran group has got to be able to, close out the season with a little bit of pride for the ones that stick around.
And that's what they're here for. Those guys are brought in, these undeniable veteran leadership guys were brought in to prevent against things falling apart with 27 games to go.
Right.
Now there's 26. Let's see how they finish. All right. Can we ball this game up and throw it out and talk about Seth Jones?
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. We're going to hit the break zone.
It's our favorite
Please
thing
do
to
us a favor. Hit that like button for us. We are definitely in reach of 100 likes. We've got over 200 people watching and only 70 likes. Make that make sense. Hit that like button for us. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page as well. We got a whole lot more coming up, including a little bit of an update, by the way, on the Seth Jones situation from our buddy Elliot Friedman. Coming up next on the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show. That's a tease, mister. I'm not lying.
No, you're not. Hey, speaking of teases, I mean wings, hot wings, cold beer, and sports. When I mention all those things,
Yep.
obviously Hooters comes to mind, right?
Always.
As I just lost the read.
Always on my mind.
Hooters, always on my mind. There's a
love
James
wings.
Taylor song about that, right?
Nope, it's Willie Nelson. Yes.
Okay, close. When you think about
Not
that
close.
trio, obviously Hooters comes to mind. And what's better than watching your favorite teams than with a hot plate of wings and an ice-cold beer next to you? I say nothing. At Hooters, especially with the state of Chicago sports, watching a game there makes it just a little bit more tolerable. You heard of the chicken tender tacos?
Yep.
I have. They sound great. Also, their mango habanero wing sauce sounds delicious for
Tried
those
it. Loved it.
that like the spice. And you can never forget about the Hooters $6 legendary margaritas available all day, every day. So cheer on your favorite teams from any of the 11 Chicagoland Hooters locations, and you can order online for pickup and delivery. Check them out at originalhooters.com.
And get ready for the snowy winter ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Sarah was out skiing again last weekend, rocking the Shady Rays ski goggles and the sunglasses when she was off the slopes. They look great. Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all your outdoor adventures, including skiing. They have hundreds of pairs and options to choose from, including styles in your favorite team's colors. So do that. We wear Shady Rays all the time. They're amazing, and their replacement policy is incredible. If you don't love them, exchange them for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com. Use code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. That's a lot of people. That is a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Seth Jones. We're going to catch everybody up. Wednesday, after practice, we're all in the locker room, milling about, talking to players as we see necessary.
As one does.
And Ben Pope just found himself talking to Seth Jones, probably working on something. And Seth Jones kind of opened the proverbial can of worms, saying that him and his agents have been talking to Kyle Davidson about potentially going to a contender, and he wants to win at some point in his career. He's 30 years old. He's been through a lot of losing, yada, yada, yada. Friday, then the entire media is there. They surround him in his locker, and he kind of talks about it again. And he said, like, look, when I came here, I was coming with Marc-Andre Fleury, Jake McCabe, my brother Caleb. The expectation was that the Hawks were going to stay competitive, try to keep winning, and then the Jeremy Colliton thing completely flopped. Stan Bowman resigned in shame after the Kyle Beach situation. Kyle Davidson came in, looked at this thing honestly, and said, we have to fully rebuild.
Right.
And he was correct. It was overdue because Bowman soft-selled it and then's like, actually, no, I'm going to get Seth Jones, Marc-Andre Fleury, and Jake McCabe the next year. So Davidson said, no, we are actually rebuilding. Jones is already in the fold under different pretenses when he agreed to come here. And he's been a good soldier up to now. I understand people don't like the contract. We have defended him in terms of his value on the ice, his value in the room. But I think now that, and I think you agree with me, Mario, I won't speak for you. Now that he has publicly said that he wishes to be traded, that he wants out, that he wants to go to a contender, it has to happen. And I think it has to happen by the deadline. I think they got to do everything they can to make it happen, because every day that goes by, every time that locker room door is open until the trade deadline, it's going to be the main conversation.
Yeah, I think as soon as you put that out there, there's no taking it back. There's no, if we get to the afternoon of March 7th and Seth Jones is still on the team, that, Kyle Davidson press availability whenever it happens, because they play that night, but if it happens in the afternoon before that game, every question is going to be about Seth Jones. What happened? Didn't make a deal. What's the plan? What are you going to do? How close were you? All that stuff. And that topic of conversation is not going to go away for the rest of the season, because now it trails into the offseason.
Yeah.
And I think from Jones's words, in the way that he framed it, was just like, these have been conversations that have been going on prior to Ben Pope talking to him earlier this week. But he said, like, we felt the urgency to get that message out now, that I've been having these conversations 2 weeks before the trade.
That is definitely intentional.
That is an intentional foot on the pedal, get a deal done. I'm done losing with this team. That's I don't fault him for feeling that way, because he was sold, we're going to contend, we're going to have good players, you're going to be a big part of the Blackhawks getting back into the playoffs and all this stuff. None of that happened. The guy who signed him to the contract was resigned, and the direction of the organization changed, kind of a rug pull on him that he didn't sign up for. And he's tried to make the best of it. I think you go back to how he spoke at the end of last year's the end of the year press conference. Yeah. Him, Davidson, Foligno, all talked about, the direction the team needed to go, not being acceptable, finishing at the bottom of the league, needing to get different types of players in here, needing to be more competitive, needing to win more. He was part of that push. The way this season has gone is, again, not according to plan, not according to expectations for the organization, and I would assume for Jones personally. So he says, you know what? I know I'm locked in for another 5 years. Do what you got to do. Get me somewhere that is going to give me an opportunity to contend. And he turned 30 at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
Like, he's not old, quote unquote, but he's definitely not.
If he stays here for the next 4 years, after
he's going to waste away
old.
The rest of his career.
Yes.
Most likely. So rather than ride out till you're 34, 35 and then try and go somewhere else, or, maybe hopefully this team is competitive by that time, but he's not going to waste his time.
Lord Hossa has a good comment right above there. It says, I do feel like Jones kind of screwed Kyle Davidson over here. It hurts Davidson's negotiation a little, making comments like that early. I agree with you. I think this does hurt his position of leverage. And there's some people saying in the chat, like, if Davidson doesn't trade Jones, then it's a bad job. And people saying that you absolutely can't absorb any money because you go on to pay Seth Jones for 5 more years. It's like, it can't be all those things, right? If you want to get, because there's a lot of people who are like, good, trade him, get him out of here. If you're just going to trade him to get him out of here, you're not going to love the return, and you're probably going to eat money. No, but this is the situation. This is what Davidson's in.
Davidson's not going to just be, okay, Seth Jones for a conditional 5th. Like, it's not.
No, of course.
But that's what people want. That's what some people are just like, I'll take him for a washing machine.
Right,
like,
and then they do
ridiculous.
that, and then those same people will
say fire
Kyle Davidson. Yeah. Of course. But I just think generally, like, this does really hurt Kyle Davidson's negotiating power here. And maybe he felt like things were not moving quickly enough for his liking, and thought that, like, hey, we've been talking about this for a few weeks or a couple months or whatever it might be, and nothing's happening, and I'm not hearing any rumors or hearing anything from my agent that anything's close. So maybe the agent said, hey, go out and put pressure on. Go say something to the media. The first guy that asks you about it, say it.
Mhm.
Say that we've been talking. Say that we've been looking for something, because that will put pressure on Kyle Davidson, and that sucks. And there's a lot of Hawks fans that are pissed at Seth Jones for that, and I don't really blame them. I get why you're upset about that, because it does put him in a bad spot. And we'll say this about Kyle Davidson. The dude is getting things done behind closed doors. Even if you just look at him historically, most moves Kyle Davidson makes are kind of out of the blue. No one had really any of the guys he signed. I would say Tavo felt like a done deal just because it made all the sense in the world, right, as a free agent. Bertuzzi was kind of out there a little bit because the same kind of level of free agent.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like Maroon, Martinez, Brody, like none of that was out there. There were no whispers about trading for Jason Dickinson. Nothing about Ilya Mikheyev. A lot of this, the Taylor Hall thing happened moments before a game. Mm-hmm. There are things happening behind the scenes. So maybe Seth Jones doesn't realize, dude, I've been working on this. Like, if you just wait, I've got, 12 days now to the deadline or whatever it is. I'm doing it. I'm working on it. I'm doing the best I can. I can't just screw the team and the franchise over to move you. No. But I promise you, I'm doing my best to get this done. And maybe it's a rookie mistake for Kyle Davidson to not say to him, I will do everything in my power to get you in a good situation. If it doesn't happen by the deadline, I'll get it done by this summer. Please be patient. Please understand this is a priority for me. And maybe he dropped that ball and didn't do it. Maybe he said that and it wasn't good enough for Seth Jones. I don't know. But regardless, by Seth Jones saying this, it puts Kyle Davidson in a worse position to negotiate in a trade than he was before.
I mean, if Seth Jones is coming out and saying, like, hey, this is what I prefer, then Davidson's trying to do it for sure. If it doesn't happen, though, then it happens in the offseason. And if that's a problem for Seth Jones, that it didn't get done at the deadline and has to wait till the offseason or whatever, then okay, we can figure it out.
Right.
I get that, sometimes trades happen quickly. They materialize over a few days. Sometimes things take, a lot of back and forth. Sometimes things take a few weeks to get done. But I think, as soon as a guy expresses like, I would like to be traded, it happens quickly. Yeah. And I mean, Davidson has done a job before of being able to say, this is what I'll accept in a trade and nothing less. And if that is the case here with what he's setting for Seth Jones and saying like, hey, this is what we expect in a return for him, whether it's retaining no money or up to 50% or whatever, he has his price tag on it. And if it's not being met, then he's not going to sell himself short. But if Seth Jones comes out and says, well, I'll waive on a deal that gets me out of here, then yeah, I'm like, okay, like that hurdle's cleared. But if Davidson's not getting what he expects, like he's not to any obligation to say, oh, okay, just because you want to be traded, I'll take anything just to get you out of here at the deadline. And if it doesn't happen by March 7th and now it becomes a problem, I mean, there's nothing to say that you have to keep Seth Jones around. You could just say if you don't want to be here, just like Anders Sorensen was saying, if you don't want to play hard, you can sit on the bench. If you don't want to be here, if you're going to be a distraction, if you're going to be upset that you're not moved by March 7th, then you can go home. Or there's the, mutual contract termination route that is gone that we've seen other players go through. I just think like if it becomes an issue that he's not moved by March 7th, then there's another way to address it. And if it happens by March 7th, then everyone gets what they want, in theory.
I just think it's hard because now that the cat's out of the bag, Kyle can't be as patient as he wants to be and can't say, oh, you know what? I'll see what's available at the deadline. If not, I'll work on it this summer. We'll see. But now that Seth says it, again, everyone's talking about it. It's the biggest story. I mean, we've had people from the show started. Anything new on Seth Jones? Like, it's going to be the story until it's not. And now he's not. I don't think he'll be able to get as good of a deal as he wanted. That's what I think. And like you might say, he's, Kyle Davidson has set his price. I'll accept nothing less than this or this or this. If scenario A, B, C, if you're taking a whole contract, fine. If we have to eat half, this is what we want.
Right.
Now, you can't have an unhappy Seth Jones in the room. And look, I think Seth Jones has been a professional throughout his time here.
He has. Yeah.
And Sorensen said it's not been an issue. I don't think he played noticeably differently than he usually does in this game. I think he had your typical Seth Jones game. So I don't see him slacking on the ice. If anything, I think he will up his play over the next little bit here if possible, because he wants to put on a good show for whoever might be interested in him.
Right.
I just think Kyle Davidson now can't say, I've got my price and I'm sticking to it because Seth Jones has put him in this spot. It's tough. It's tough. And I get where Seth's coming from too. I understand it. I do. But it's tough. The mutual contract termination thing is interesting because it's not going to happen because Seth Jones will be walking away from what?
9.5.
Let's say he signs a $5 million deal somewhere. If it's a termination, the 9.5 is gone for the next 5 years. So he's walking away from double the money he'd be making. So it's going to be this contract.
It would be financially dumb to do that,
yes.
But it's an option on the table. How bad do you want out of Chicago? If you're willing to go public with this and put pressure on Davidson to get it done by March 7th, like if it's really that bad and you don't see any way that any deal can get done in the off season that's going to make a difference or anything like that, like I don't know. To me, it's with Jones, it feels like he's got the long-term deal, right? So if it doesn't happen by March 7th, then you're out of here anyways, right? In the offseason. One way or another, it's going to happen then. And
so I wish he just would have waited.
Well, he put the pressure on it. So I still feel like somehow it's going to be done by March 7th. I feel like I don't know what it's going to take. There's so many different ways that you could make this work. There's a couple teams that could make a deal work where no retention is done. You'd have to have money coming back because no one's just going to eat $9.5 million. It's just not feasible at this stage of the season. So you'd have to have players coming back. The retention's on the table. Anywhere up to 50%. Like I saw someone float the idea like it'll be kind of like Erik Karlsson, where it's just takes a fraction off, but it is still a number of years that you're retaining on it. I don't know. I feel like I still have the gut feeling that it's going to be done by March 7th. But if it's not, then I mean this isn't like this is his last chance to get to a contender. It's not like he's 39 years old. He's on an expiring deal. Team's in last place. Please get me to a contender.
Yeah, right.
I just want to play in the playoffs once. It's not like that. So if it doesn't happen by March 7th, it'll happen in the offseason. So is one potentially missed out Stanley Cup playoff run as much of a detriment? I mean, it's up to him.
I'm more worried about. I don't care about him. About what he misses out on. I'm afraid of what happens to the room if March 7th goes by and he's not traded and he's pissed off and he's sulking and he's ruining what's left of the morale in there. That's a problem. That's the sort of stuff that Davidson has to weigh.
Yeah, and if it is that way, it doesn't need to be around. We've seen players be dismissed from their teams. We've seen players been told, "Hey, just go home." We've seen that happen before.
Right. Oh, look at your ankle looks swollen.
Not even that. Just outright being like, "Hey, go home. You're gonna get your paycheck. We'll move you in the offseason, whatever it needs to be." I don't foresee that being the case, given Jones's professionalism throughout this whole time here in Chicago. But if it is the case, like, okay, then he can be upset, doesn't need to play, and he'll get moved in the offseason. Yeah.
Look, I really want, my preference is Kyle Davidson just sticks to his guns and says, okay, I hear you. Don't appreciate you going to the press with it, but I hear you, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do, what's best for the team.
Right.
And you might not love it, but I told you I'd try to move you. I've been telling you that for weeks. If a deal that comes by that makes sense for me and makes sense for you, then I'll do it. In the meantime, I'm not just getting you out of here because you just want to get out of here. That's not how this works.
Right.
I hope Kyle Davidson sticks to his guns that way. I just think that Seth Jones has made that difficult, and it also takes away some negotiating leverage from Davidson because now teams are like, you got a malcontent on your hands. Maybe now you have to get rid of him. We're not going to give you as much because it's a bad situation. It's not great. It's not a great situation. Kyle Davidson never signed this player. I think he's done everything he can to keep him happy. He's put an A on his sweater. They've made him one of the faces of the team all around town. He's on billboards. He's on Coca-Cola ads. He's got an endorsement. I see him every time I go to Mariano's and the Coke Zero ad.
Mm-hmm.
There's Seth Jones. This team has done things to ease that burden of losing for him. And I don't think this is a cool way for him. And look, I think I've been called a Seth Jones apologist more than anybody, but I think this was a poor move by him. It could have been handled behind closed doors. I know we have a couple super chats we got to get to. Appreciate the patience on those. Alan K says, if I'm Kyle Davidson regarding Seth Jones, no trade. Make him suffer on this team and choke on his $9.5 million. If he wants out, he can do what Saad did, terminate the contract and re-sign for less. That would be playing hardball. I don't foresee that. I don't see Seth Jones saying, yes, I'm going to walk away from 4 years of $9.5 million.
He'll go home, cash the checks, and then be moved in the offseason.
Right. And Windy City Hockey says, can the Blackhawks strip Jones of the A for this? They could do whatever they want. Of course they could.
Yeah.
They absolutely could do that. I don't know if you are concerned about the morale and you're concerned about Seth Jones's attitude in the room, which on the record, no one seems to be concerned about.
Right.
I think doing that is potentially pouring gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
And saying, oh, you want to talk to me and now we're taking your A off. Now it becomes even more contentious. And now you're even losing even more value because they're like, well, now you want him gone. You're pissed at him. I don't know.
No, they're not.
No, I don't think that
gonna
accomplishes
do that
anything
until he's off the team. There's no. I mean, it's a piece of fabric at this point. It's not gonna. Yeah. It's not going to make a difference.
Yeah. The Majestic American Woodcock says this has been a Seth Jones apologist podcast a lot this year.
Yeah, because as we've said the entire time, he's overpaid. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep. He's not playing up to the level he's being paid.
Is he the sole reason that this team is bad? No.
He is not a reason this team is bad.
Right. And
he's one of the few net positives players on this team
this season.
This season.
We have probably overemphasized the amount of times that he's been good. We have called out times that he's been bad, but we've had to do that because I feel there is a section of the fan base that has been against him no matter
from day one
what he could do.
There's nothing
he could have won the Norris and they'd have been upset.
Right.
So that I feel like trying to be able to paint the broadest picture of what Seth Jones can and cannot do, does and does not do for this team was the way to talk about it.
Yeah,
because
if saying that Seth Jones is not the worst player on this team and is not the reason they're losing night after night is being an apologist, then fine. I just think that's being a fair hockey analyst.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think that, Seth Jones, when he came back from his broken foot, had an awful stretch of hockey. He said as much.
Yeah.
He said, I've been terrible. And then since then has bounced back and played some of his best hockey of the year. But I don't think saying that, he's overpaid. No, he's not worth $9.5 million, but he's not the reason you're losing is apologizing for him. I think it's speaking factually about a hockey player.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think that's wild, but I don't know. It's Woodcock says a lot of it feels reactionary because he gets so much hate. It comes off like you have to defend him when he doesn't deserve it because other fans are so uncharitable. I don't know, man. I think we just call it like we see it every night. Like I don't know. There were games where Peter Mrazek's been great, and we've said so, and tonight he sucked. Mm-hmm. And we're gonna say it. I just think that
we have Alex Vlasic on this show, and there have been many times this season where we've been like, man, he had a rough game. Yeah. Like we're not trying to play favorites or whatever. Like and I feel like we're getting too much into trying to defend it all, but I just feel like it's like we're trying to give the whole picture of this team and each player and night in, night out. Like there's ups, there's downs, there's context to things like that's so if that's being an apologist rather than just saying, man, he sucks, I'd trade him for a vending machine. Like, okay. Like if that, like there's plenty of that kind of discourse on social media. Like if that's what you want to dive into, like go for it.
I don't know.
But yeah, I feel like we need to provide a little bit more context and nuance and discussion and try to do that. Hey, also fart jokes.
Oh yeah, fart jokes too. Yeah. Dakota Meek says in other news, I became a diehard today. Handshake emoji. Thank you, Dakota. We appreciate that. Now is a good time, by the way, because we are running a sale. It's still going on, right, Sarah?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, $48 for the year. That's $4 a month, and you still get your free shirt or hat when you sign up, and access to all of our great written content, all of that stuff. 20% off all our events, takeovers, watch parties. Don't think we're having a third takeover this year, but when we have one next year, you will save 20%. Remember, the takeover was, what was it, $80 off for our suite takeover?
Mm-hmm. No, it was 80.
100 for Bulls, 80 for us.
It was 80 for us.
Yeah, so, I mean, that pays for the membership a couple times over.
Yeah, if you jump on the deal.
Yeah, so jump on that deal. Now's the time to do it. AllCHGO.com is the place to do it. I think Sarah has shared the link for the Blackhawks, not actually official Blackhawks beat, but my Seth Jones opinion piece from the other day. Lots of good stuff. Dom Cagney, this is interesting, says Seth is Zach Levine. Good player, doesn't contribute to winning, and not a great leader.
I don't know if
you had me and lost me. I think Zach Levine could be a very valuable asset on a good team, and I think a player like that can't be your best player, right? Like that's kind of the mindset is you can't win a championship with that guy as your best player, but he could be an impactful player on a championship team.
The past 2 seasons, Seth Jones hasn't been the best player on this team. It's been Connor Bedard.
Right.
So, yeah, he doesn't have that weight on his shoulders as I have to be the best. You want him to be, but he doesn't have to be.
Yeah. But even second best, I think on a true contender, Seth Jones as a middle pair guy, power play guy is very, very valuable. $20 super chat from Steven, who again is here every damn show. We appreciate you, Steven. Says too many look for hot takes rather than honest discussion. Just keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate that, Steven. That's what we're trying to do. I don't think we come on here looking to what can we say that's going to go viral on social media. I think we're telling you what we think about the Blackhawks. Yeah. And I would hope that that's what you would expect from us on a nightly basis.
Not to derail the podcast, but T's and P's to Cody Delmendo. Duke 110, Illinois 67. 43-point loss is the widest margin of defeat in Illinois program history tonight. Yikes.
That sounds not good.
A lot of college basketball talk on today's show. Didn't expect that.
I was just naming college basketball teams.
Yeah.
That's all I can do.
Anyways.
Gonzaga, are they good this year?
No, actually, I don't think so.
I haven't really been into college basketball this year.
That's always my bracket team.
I've been in Hawks World too much, and
so have I.
I've been sad about my KU
We're all
team,
in Hawks World
so
too
I don't
much.
really want to watch.
Anytime in Hawks World is too much.
I miss the Four Nations tournament.
Right? Yeah. Let's go back. Let's live in that time.
Sure.
Let's just redo post games.
You know what we should do? We should rewatch like old 2010s games.
That would be great.
Like on tomorrow, we should do if there's a February 23rd game from like 2010 or something. go back and watch that and do a post game on that game.
They're going to play well tomorrow against Toronto. They always do.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you got Toronto Maple Leafs owner Arvid Soderblom in net.
Try to get that first win for the Winter Classic uniforms.
Please.
They're wearing them tomorrow.
Just win one in that uniform.
Yeah, let's just not have it completely sullied forever.
Just one before I die.
All right, Sarah, can we go home? Are we good? All right.
More of this tomorrow.
Yeah. Hey, the game will be different tomorrow. I predicted a blowout loss in
It'll
a
be in
pregame show
Chicago.
today. I think tomorrow's game will be competitive. I think you're going to see a different Hawks team tomorrow.
Really?
So we'll see.
I hope so.
We will see.
I hope so.
Hawks and Leafs, great uniform matchup if nothing else, and a lot of
Even
star
without
power.
that.
I will
wow.
say the one thing that I was excited about during today's broadcast was did they officially announce the All-Star lineups today? I saw they were doing that. They said Justin Bieber was playing in that.
There's a charity game
or the
going on
charity
in LA
celebrity game.
Yeah, I know,
tomorrow
right?
for the people affected by the wildfires and
Yeah.
also the first responders.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I'm gonna watch that game.
You can go out there. You can run over your foot again.
It will it will be on TV, I believe. TNT, I think.
Want
Yeah,
us to do
I
a
was gonna
post game
say.
for that instead?
Honestly, that's what I was
The
thinking.
celebrity game?
I feel
Steve
like that would
Carell's
be really
playing.
fun.
Snoop Dogg's a
Well,
coach.
yeah, I was gonna say.
So is
Snoop
Danny
Dogg's the coach.
DeVito?
Will Ferrell, or isn't it Will Ferrell?
Farrell.
Farrell, yeah.
Will Farrell. Like the Hogs.
Yes.
Farrell Hogs. Yeah.
I'm
All right, let's go
I
I
home.
just passed away from that.
What, the Will Ferrell?
That you said Will Ferrell.
Well, Steve Carell, Will Ferrell. I see what happened there.
It's late.
it is
What
late.
time is it?
It's
9:30.
9:30.
Yeah.
Oh, so late.
It's late.
It's late for Sarah, even though she's probably going out after this. Not tonight?
No, I gotta make Seth Jones content.
Oh,
You don't have to.
bully.
Oh, I have to.
So fun. All right, we'll be back tomorrow after Hawks and Leafs. Don't miss it. 6 o'clock puck drop. So about the same time, we'll be on. We'll talk to you then on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.